Thank you for staying with us. As the clock ticks down, all eyes are on the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and the security agencies to ensure a smooth and peaceful electoral process in Ondo State. INEC has published the particulars of nominated candidates from 17 political parties for public scrutiny. The Commission has also provided information on polling units, voter registration, and election guidelines. Security officers, INEC officials, and other electoral personnel are making last-minute preparation to ensure the process goes smoothly. The big question on everyone's mind is, how well is INEC prepared for the electoral process in Ondo State? What are the residents' thoughts on coming out to cast their ballot? These are some of the questions many people are asking. Our senior political correspondent, Ayodele Uzuwaku, will be providing us updates from the field. He stands by now to also bring us up to speed as we speak. Ayo, good morning. It's good to have you join us.
Good morning, Veronica. We're counting down. It's just 24 hours to that, less than 24 hours to the poll.
Yeah, just
and
yesterday.
What we are looking at here is...
Can you hear me? Yes, quickly. Just yesterday we saw INEC delivering sensitive materials to the various locations, especially areas where we know that are hard to reach, for instance. And then we also have observers talking about vote buying and also looking forward to security agencies doing the needful.
Yes, that will be the second to the last lap for the Independent National Electoral Commission. It was a very strategic move and very important move that the sensitive material, as the name implies, sensitive material, were actually deployed yesterday to the 18 local governments. And the meaning of that is that security, everything was done simultaneously. And they told us because of the particular terrain of Ondo states, that the Ondo area, Ilaje area, they are working with the Nigerian Navy, and the Nigerian Navy has graciously accepted to provide the security there, and they are going to work with their gunboats and everything just to make sure that they protect that voting beavers, the permanent, the sensitive materials and other materials that will be going to the polling stations in this Southern Senatorial District, villages, polling units. And I asked them, why is this so strategic to actually go to the riverine area to get to people that vote and everything? And they told me that the quantum of people that are staying, the numerical strength of people staying in the Ilaje Ondo area, it's quite a large chunk of the number of the electorate that at the point in time it must be guarded, because sometimes when the election will not be free and fair, what they do is that these boys, they come out from the creek and they capsize the boat of the Independent National Electoral Commission officers. They take over their materials, they do a lot of things, if the election is going to be tampered with. So it's very, very important, amidst tight security, that these materials should actually be escorted there to be taken to these areas. And the Resident Electoral Commissioner also mentioned that there are some areas on land that they are very, very difficult. They have difficult terrain, that wherever the buses that will be conveying the sensitive material stops, they are going to devise another means to reach those polling units. You can imagine that there are some areas that don't have motorable roads. There are some areas that cannot be accessed even by land. So I was thinking that the most difficult terrain was going to be the Ilaje Ondo area, the riverine areas, but no, they're telling us there are some areas in the Northern Senatorial District that it's extremely difficult to get vehicular movement there to be able to convey the sensitive materials of the Independent National Electoral Commissioner there. Now, three things, people will be looking at three things. Now, all eyes will be on the 1.7 million electorates that actually collected their PVC, not the number of registered voters. Now, that 1.7 million that actually collected their PVC represents 86.5% of the people. A lot of people will say quite encouraging when you check out the number of registered voters and the number of people that actually turned up to collect their PVC. Now you'll be eligible to vote if you collect your PVC, 1.7 million people, that is representing 86.7% of the number of people that actually registered to vote. Now, what are we expecting? We're expecting a situation whereby we expect, from the 1.7 million people, the number of registered voters and the number of people that will actually come out tomorrow to improve. Playing with some statistics here, in 2012, they had the highest, as in 38.6% of number of people that actually turned out on voting day. Actually, people like us will be watching out for the overall number of people that eventually, out of that 1.7 million people, that will eventually turn out tomorrow. I'm going to be looking at that figure keenly. And it's about the electorate, it's about the umpire, and it's about security. And talking about security, beyond what the Inspector General of Police, did with the policemen, the NSCDC, they've decided to add addition of 6,000 personnel from the NSCDC here. So I have the commandant of the NSCDC in Ondo State, that is Oluyemi Ibiloye, with me, talking about injecting 6,000 additional men to complement whatever the police will be doing. What will you guys be doing tomorrow?
Well, just like you rightly said, we have about 6,000 men deployed from the national headquarters and about 10 states around Ondo State. This is going to be in collaboration with other security agencies to ensure that we make this election free and fair.
Now, when you look at the difficult terrain, what will be your roles in those areas? The Ondo area, the larger areas, and even the topography they are talking about by road that will be difficult by land?
Well, all the security agencies, we were in a meeting with the Chief of Defense Staff yesterday and also with the DIG representing the Inspector General of Police, and we fashioned out modalities on how to, get to this location. There are places that we might need to use motorbikes to get there.
Motorbikes?
Yes, wow. And of course, we have boats already on ground to be deployed also for this exercise, in addition to the vehicular movement.
Now, in terms of, breakdown of law and order, are you guys prepared for some flashpoints, some areas that they've been designated as flashpoint for ahead of tomorrow's exercise?
Well, I can assure you that this process did not just start today. We've actually been meeting. We've been meeting like every week. The police commissioner, as the chairman of the heads of security agencies in Ondo State, last week we were at the brigade commander's office to meet to fashion out modalities. Like I told the CDS yesterday, that was the third time that we're actually going to the brigade commander's office. After that, we were at the police commissioner's office to brief and get briefing from the DIG representing the Inspector General of Police. And I can assure you that we're well prepared for this election, and we have men ready to be deployed. If you get to my command now, you see men, the crack squad, the CBRN, just name it, the female squad, they are ready to go.
Now tell me about security agencies, including the sister security agency that will be assisting the police tomorrow. Do you have the local security agency among you guys, Amoteku?
Well, like you know, the electoral law does not support the use of local security personnel. Just the federal agencies are the only ones that are allowed to partake in federal elections. So the Amotekun will not be participating. And I repeat,
clearly,
the Amotekun will not be participating in tomorrow's election.
So because it's not a federal agency, it's not recognized by the electoral law?
The electoral law does not permit them to partake in this election, and they've been well informed.
For those people that have been meeting, those security agencies, can you just name them? I know that you don't supervise them, but those people so that the public will know.
Well, there are quite a number of them, but I'll try to. Yes, I know the police as the lead agency. The Army will be involved, the Navy, the Air Force, the NDLEA, the Correctional Service, the Immigration Service, the Federal Fire Service, the Road Safety will be involved in this election.
Now, looking at the electoral law, you know, it said that we should not have men with gun-wielding men very close to the polling units. How have you sensitized your men? What will NSCDC, what will be their role to the polling units?
Well, I think this election obviously is going to be an improvement on what we had in Edo State. We're going to be professional, and our men have been well sensitized. They will be at the outer corridor, not the inner corridor.
Outer corridor?
Yes. They'll be at the outer corridor. Those arms-bearing men will be at the outer corridor. And that's just to respond to any eventuality, to deal with any threats. But those who will be at the polling unit will not be bearing arms.
Were you told specifically anybody that want to foment breakdown, ballot bot snatching, vote, that want to induce voters, were you given, is that part of your brief?
Told by who?
No, as in, is that part of your brief to apprehend anybody that want to induce voters apart from the regular EFCC?
Yeah, of course. We all work, like I said, I think part of what we've enjoyed in Ondo State is that robust synergy amongst the security agencies, and then we share notes. The job is not just for EFCC alone. If a policeman sees somebody who is involved in either vote buying or vote selling, that person will be apprehended by the police. If any of the other security agencies find anybody selling or buying vote, that person will also be apprehended by whichever security agencies discovers that, and then will be handed over to the appropriate agency.
Mr. Abiloye, I hope you join us tomorrow when we shall be reviewing, after the whole exercise, we shall be reviewing your conduct and your performances.
Very well, I'll be there.
I want to thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Veronica, that's Oluyemi Ibiloye, the commandant of the NSCDC here in Ondo State. They're not going to be doing it alone. A civil society group that will actually be like the police, a lead civil society group that will be policing the whole, the whole process. That, these people, they are as thorough as, by the time it's 12 noon tomorrow, they'll be able to give you a pre-election assessment about what actually happened, what went down, the number of polling units, how people got to the polling unit, the exact time. They have men on ground across the 3,933 polling units. So the exact time they got there, the exact time the incident kicked off, and by the time it's 12 noon, they're going to be giving us a kind of post-election assessment. That's be the maiden press conference, and they're going to police the system. They are a civil society group we call Yaga Africa, and I have a board member of Yaga Africa, Chris Waja, with us. He's a board member of Yaga Africa. Nice to have you, Chris.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Now, when we are looking at your rules, what you are going to do, and the number of people you have down there to police the system, what are those things you'll be looking at tomorrow? Ensure compliance.
Yaga Africa is a non-partisan organization that is committed to credible, free and fair election. We are deploying 300 observers across the state, 18 local governments, and the focus for us is to look at INEC preparedness, to look at how the setup is, to look at how voting is conducted, how the counting of voting is conducted, and how the outcome of the election will be. Most importantly, we've mapped out all the stakeholders, INEC, security agencies, political parties, candidates, and citizens themselves. We expect all stakeholders to play the game according to the rules. There are specific rules, both in the Constitution and the Electoral Act, as provided for in the law, as well as other rules that have been set by INEC. The security agencies have their own rules of engagement. Civil society organizations have their own rules of engagement. Citizens expect elections that are credible, and our focus is that INEC should be able to uphold citizens' confidence in terms of how it conducts itself.
Months before this particular exercise, you had your men on ground to monitor some level of compliance, that's pre-election, and you shouted about some infractions. Can you give us a kind of insight into it?
Yeah, two key issues that
we don't have to mention.
Two key issues that are of concern to us. One is the role that money is playing. in terms of voter inducement. This whole question of the monetization of our politics is troubling. It's not just a phenomenon peculiar to Ondo State. It's a Nigerian phenomenon. We call on citizens to ensure that money does not determine the outcome of this election. They should be resilient enough to decide who they want as their governor. The second is the role that hate speech is playing, both virtually and physically. And increasingly, the political temperature is becoming so high because politicians and political parties are desperate. In their desperation, they begin to move away from the rules of the game, which is about speaking about the issues, focusing on the issues, not about stereotyping, not about instigating people into violence, but ensuring that they speak in a way that conveys specific information. They communicate to citizens about what they intend doing. It should be issue-based campaign. It should be that people that emerge, or the governor that will emerge at the end of the day, should be a governor that is a product of an incisive, deliberate, and clearly defined agenda that that individual has set, and the people are voting for such an individual on the basis of that agenda, because that is what will define the future, the political future of Ondo State.
Did you identify flashpoints, possible flashpoints before this election?
Yeah, there are flashpoints, but I don't want to mention the names. What we did was to call on politicians generally to eschew violence. We've called on citizens to ensure that they resist any attempt to make them to be cannon foders for violence across the state, because these flashpoints or hotspots keep changing. They mutate by the day. Politicians map out, they look at areas of strength, and on the basis of that, they begin to move towards those areas where they think they might not get votes, and at such point, you see violence erupting. So across the state, the message is one: peaceful election should be the way to go. Credible election should be the way to go, regardless of where the strength of a political party is. Political parties, candidates should ensure that they work towards an election that will be applauded by Nigerians.
Now, when you look at the level of the sharp drop in the political participation since 2012, when you look at the number of people now, they've collected their PVC, it's quite encouraging, 86% thereabouts. And in projection, in all, at the end of the day, the last election, it has been dwindling from 38 to 36 to 31. And do you see anything different from this particular exercise, the level of awareness on the part of people and willing to vote? And if they're not willing to come out, what do you think, what are those things that do you think was responsible for this laid-back attitude?
Yesterday at 12 noon, we issued a statement to this effect. We are concerned that... we are concerned because Ondo State has over 2 million registered voters, but our projection is that we will witness a very low, we will witness low voter turnout, and there are several factors.
That's your prediction?
Yeah, that's our prediction.
Very low voter turnout.
Low voter turnout. What we see on paper in terms of the registered voters will not be what will come out as per those who actually vote. One, there is the issue of the voter register itself, because when you have this number, and at the end of the day, you are talking of 35% voter turnout, it raises concern about the credibility of the voter register. And we are not questioning the credibility for now, because that's not something we've done. But issues around reluctance of voters to come out and vote. For some voters, they believe the outcome is predetermined, that what they are just going to do is just to vote and go, but that regardless of who they vote for, their vote will not count. People are also concerned about the quality of governance. And on the basis of this concern about quality of governance, they feel they are not motivated enough to vote. And our message to the political class is that We need to invest heavily in ensuring that voter turnout increases, and that the only way to increase voter turnout is to improve the quality of governance. When people see value, when people see value in the delivery of social services, when people see value in security provisioning, then there will be increased trust in public institutions. And such increased trust will also lead to an improvement in the turnout of voters in subsequent elections.
All right, I want to thank you, Chris Waja. I want to thank you. We hope to attend your press conference, the midday press conference tomorrow, to talk about the level of, the promptness of the logistic deployment by the electoral umpire tomorrow.
Thank you very much. And I still call on the people of Ondo to come out en masse and vote. If you don't vote, you don't have the right to question the person that will emerge as governor. But when you vote, you can question, you can seek accountability, because that's your power. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Veronica, I told you when I got here, the day before yesterday, that I'm also worried about the atmosphere here, the laid-back attitude of the residents, that I'm worried about what I've seen so far. It's not looking like there's going to be an election in the next 24 hours. I've been here since Monday. I've been going around. I've taken their popular motorbikes, Okada. I've taken their public transports, and I've gone around. A lot of people, they seem not to be, they seem to be carefree. So I went and I studied the steady decline from 2012, and I saw that if something is not done drastically, if something is not done in the next 24 hours, we might not have a kind of improvement in this old system. This old system might not improve. The last we got was from 38% declined to 36% as of 2020, and what we had during the last presidential election and the governorship election, it's of course nothing to write home about. And the Yaga Africa said that they want to question the 1.7 million people that collect PVC, because how do you have 1.7 million people that have collected PVC, and that the same day, on election day, the governorship candidates, the person that will emerge, he might not emerge with more than 200,000 votes. You can see the statistics from 1.7 to 250,000. It's quite.
Right. It's almost looking like a repetition of what we saw in Edo State, where a number of persons collected their PVCs and not up to 50% turned out. It's quite becoming a worrisome development.
Yes, it's quite difficult. How can in a long time we've not recorded, that kind of figure. 50%, you might not get 50% on election day. We're saying that if we get 40%, at least 40%, it will mark a kind of milestone, a kind of improvement in in the whole activities. And the Yaga Africa man just said it, that you questioned, the level of governance, how those people that have been at the end of affair have been able to affect people, they've been able to impact their life directly. That a lot of people might have been, lost hope in the system, and somehow, it's part of INEC's responsibility to, ginger these people and political parties to get out the voters. Officially, the last 24 hours, 12 midnight yesterday, campaign and formal campaign stopped everywhere. So no political parties will be seen today publicly or openly canvassing for votes. And there's going to be the normal restriction of vehicular movement from 6 a.m. tomorrow to 6 p.m. as decreed by the Inspector General of Police. And we are used to that on election day, things will be grounded. It's not what you can compare to some other climb that you have on election day. People will still work. In fact, as a matter of fact, today is a public holiday in Akure. Workers have been told that ahead of tomorrow, so that they can go, those people that registered to vote in their villages, in their town, they can be able to access, they can leave Akure, the state's capital, today, and civil servants should be able to participate in the exercise tomorrow.
With what you have seen, and you've explained that the level of the level in Ondo State is not as you expected. What would you say about voter education by the relevant bodies and how these people take the process so far?
If that is Theophilus Elama, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Now, the process so far here, we had, there was this exercise some months before the election. They call it continuous voter registration. And in all, we had 58,000 people that actually turned up to actually participate. Those that attained the voting age of 18, 58,000 people actually turned up for that particular exercise. And some people actually redirected their voting points and polling units from other states. I think we have 3,000 of those cases. The people that actually left on those states proper, they left other states to now relocate that this. It's lawful in INEC. You can actually apply. You can actually do that. So we have 3,000 people in general that actually do that. So when you want to look at the level of awareness, the education, that's why a lot of people have been advocating that, look, this INEC is saddled with too many responsibilities: voters awareness, voters education, prosecution of election offenders and everything. And that's why some people have been canvassing that they better unbundle INEC. INEC is just saddled with too many responsibilities at the moment. They have to make sure they advertise. They have to make sure they go out to tell people to vote. They have to make sure that they get out the voters. They have to tell them how they are going to vote. They have to tell them the accreditation, which is done simultaneously now with voting. So they are going to deploy the beavers in all the 18 local governments across the state, Theophilus.
Interesting. I am looking forward to how Yaga Africa and other election observers intend to monitor closely this exercise, such that by 12 noon they want to bring us up to speed and all of that. Although they had already raised concerns with regards to vote buying, inducements, and all of it, we are hoping that, like they have said, that the security agencies will do something tomorrow, because they said the people who are coming out to carry out these activities are not spirits.
Veronica, I told you earlier that, look, every day these politicians, they are devising smarter strategies to actually counter whatever INEC and security agencies. So before it used to be, immediately you finish voting, you collect your money. If you want to buy votes and everything, there'll be some man with a big envelope, or Ghana must go back somewhere around, looking around the polling units. Now, they've devised smarter ways to beat the security operatives. They've devised smarter ways to be able to reach out to these people. They've been reaching out. Poverty has so much been weaponized in the country. They're reaching out to these people through inducements, distribution of bags of rice, through their party leaders, distribution of other products, distribution of fertilizers, and they've been able to do that well ahead of today. So sometimes tomorrow they are going to get their leaders and everything. And this is not pointing accusing finger at a particular political party. It's cut across. It's cut across. It's just a matter of the highest bidder.
Wow, that's a situation there. It seems the weather is quite hot in Ondo State, and we can see that you are moving ones of sweat there. But in everything, how prepared is everyone, especially journalists, and the security of journalists in covering these elections? How prepared are we?
Yes, for the first time, INEC actually gave us statistics of the journalists. It was part of their statistics. We have 100 media houses that will officially participate in this election. That's the first time I've seen that kind of thing. 100. And we have 700 accredited journalists that will monitor this election, that will cover this election. 700 accredited journalists. And out of the 700 accredited journalists, we have 127 female journalists that will actually be going across the 18 local government areas tomorrow. So what they've said is that we've gone through the process of registration, we've gone through the process of accreditation, and immediately you land in Ondo State, you just go to the INEC office, what we've done before online, and just collect your tag. There's an official tag that's been given to you to be recognized by security agencies, because even the security agencies too, they are going to be making use of this accreditation tag to look at you. And for the vehicular movement, the vehicles that will be moving, there's a kind of on-duty stamp around their vehicles so that they will know officially you are permitted and entitled to carry out election duties. So those are the measures that have been put in place to make sure that it's only recognized people and people, the journalists that have gone through the process of accreditation, that will actually come out tomorrow to monitor the exercise. 700 in number, I'm seeing that for the first time, and from 100 media houses across the country.
So a quick one now. Are we saying that even journalists going across riverine areas and hard-to-reach areas will get protection from security agencies and will be able to do their jobs in those areas properly?
Yes, yes. The waterway. Generally, the waterways have been protected. We are going to have the Nigerian Navy manning their gunboats, manning all the strategic locations in the waterways tomorrow. So it's not for journalists alone. It's going to be for INEC officials. It's going to be for everybody that will actually participate in tomorrow's exercise. That you can be rest assured that you're accessing, and there are speedboats that have been made available. Some will have to pay your way through, and some graciously by the state government to make sure that people will be able to run. They will know they've devised a means to actually sort the speedboat owners so that the people can actually access their local government and voting units in the riverine areas.
All right, interesting. Quickly, INEC, I know, has said that they are prepared. I do not know if they spoke to journalists about their plans for persons with disabilities.
Yes, that's always part of the election plan, and a lot of people are looking for that provision, adequate provision would have been made for people with disability around the state and how they are going to be helped out, you know. But one lesson to be learned in this exercise is that amendments, there should be an amendment to our electoral laws. It should not be an election day. So there's a kind of, the debate is going on in the floor of the National Assembly now. I think Senator Yaradua, after we came back from South Africa, the coverage of South Africa election, Senator Yaradua Jr. actually, brought out a bill, and the bill is under deliberation now, that before the election particularly, police, military security agencies, INEC officials, prison staff, prisoners should have been allowed to vote, before today, so that this will cater for persons with disability that will just take their time, maybe 3 or 4 days to the D-Day. They will just take their time, they will identify themselves, and they will, not the same day that everybody will be rushing to the polling units, that they will be allowed to vote, and the rush and the atmosphere might be skewed against persons with disability. So there's a bill in the floor of the National Assembly to that effect, that prisoners, even security agents, even journalists like me, that I never vote during election day, that I should have the right to make my choice before the election day proper.
All right, Ayo, there's so much that you have, updates that you have given us this morning, and we'll definitely keep tabs with you for any developments coming out of Ondo State. Our senior correspondent, political correspondent, Ayodele Ozubakun there. Thank you so much for bringing us up to speed.
Thank you very much.